The night was calm, the kind of quiet that made the world feel like it was holding its breath. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a silvery glow over the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Waves rolled gently against the side of the research vessel, Mariner's Hope, as it drifted silently on the dark water. Aboard the ship, marine biologist Lucas Harper leaned over the railing, staring into the endless blackness below. His mind wandered through thoughts of the ocean's mysteries, the countless creatures hidden beneath the surface, and the secrets they might one day uncover. Beside him stood Mia Dawson, her red hair tied back in a loose ponytail, her hands gripping a clipboard. She was jotting down notes about the latest readings from their equipment. The two had been working together for years, studying marine life and mapping underwater ecosystems. They were a good team, Lucas with his patient curiosity and Mia with her sharp focus and quick thinking. Tonight, however, something felt different. The air seemed heavier, charged with an energy neither of them could quite explain. Anything unusual? Lucas asked, glancing at the clipboard in Mia's hands. Mia shook her head. Nothing out of the ordinary so far, just the usual data. She paused, looking up at the horizon. But there's something... I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on it. Lucas nodded. He'd felt it too, a strange tension in the atmosphere, like the calm before a storm. The ocean was usually predictable, but tonight, it felt alive in a way he couldn't describe, as if it were waiting for something. Suddenly, the ship's instruments started beeping wildly. Alarms blared, startling the small crew aboard. Everyone scrambled to figure out what was happening. Mia rushed to the control panel, her fingers flying over the buttons as she tried to make sense of the chaos. "We're picking up some kind of disturbance," she said, her voice tight with urgency. "It's coming from deep below us." Lucas peered over her shoulder, his brow furrowed. On the screen, strange patterns flickered, waves moving in ways that defied logic. Currents twisted and turned, forming shapes that shouldn't exist naturally. Whatever was causing this wasn't part of the ocean's normal behavior. Before anyone could react, the water around the ship began to churn violently. The once gentle waves turned into towering swells, rocking the vessel back and forth. The crew clung to whatever they could find to stay upright. Lucas grabbed onto the railing, his heart pounding as he stared into the frothing sea. Then, without warning, the water parted. A massive shape rose from the depths, glowing faintly in the moonlight. It was a ship, but unlike anything any of them had ever seen. Sleek and metallic, it shimmered like liquid silver, its surface smooth and unmarked. The alien vessel hovered above the water, silent and imposing, casting a shadow over the tiny human craft below. For a moment, no one moved. The crew of the Mariner's Hope stood frozen, their eyes wide with shock and fear. Mia clutched her clipboard tightly, her knuckles white. Lucas swallowed hard, trying to steady his breathing. He had spent his life studying the ocean, but nothing could have prepared him for this. Then a beam of light shot down from the alien ship, enveloping the Mariner's Hope in a warm, golden glow. The humans shielded their eyes, blinded by the intensity of the light. When it faded, they found themselves floating, not in the ocean but inside the alien vessel. The walls around them shimmered like water, rippling softly as if alive. Strange symbols pulsed along the edges of the room, glowing faintly in colors that seemed to shift and change. Lucas looked at Mia, who was pale but composed. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. She nodded, though her hands were trembling. "I think so. What just happened?" "I don't know," Lucas admitted. "But we're not in Kansas anymore." The aliens appeared moments later, stepping into the chamber. With an eerie silence, they were tall and slender, their bodies covered in smooth, reflective scales that caught the light. Their eyes glowed faintly, scanning the humans with an unreadable expression. Though their faces were unfamiliar, there was something almost human about the way they carried themselves, with purpose and curiosity. One of the aliens stepped forward, raising a hand in what seemed like a gesture of peace. It didn't speak, but instead, images began to flash in the air between them. Scenes of Earth's oceans teeming with life played out in vivid detail. Fish darted through coral reefs, dolphins leaped through waves, and humans swam gracefully beneath the surface. The message was clear. These beings were fascinated by Earth's aquatic world. Mia exchanged a glance with Lucas. "They're interested in our oceans," she whispered. Lucas nodded slowly. "And maybe in us." The aliens continued to project images showing glimpses of their own planet, a barren wasteland devoid of water. Dust storms raged across the landscape, and the few structures that dotted the horizon looked ancient and crumbling. It was a stark contrast to the vibrant, thriving ecosystems of Earth. Lucas realized then why the aliens had come. To them, Earth must seem like a paradise, a place where life flourished in abundance. As the images faded, one of the aliens pointed to Lucas and Mia, then mimicked a swimming motion with its arms. It was asking them to demonstrate how humans interacted with water. Lucas hesitated, unsure of what to do, but Mia stepped forward confidently. She raised her arms and began to mimic the strokes of a swimmer, moving her body as if cutting through invisible waves. The aliens watched intently, their glowing eyes widening with fascination. One of them even attempted to copy Mia's movements, though its long limbs made the action look awkward and clumsy. Despite the language barrier, it was clear that communication was possible. Through gestures and demonstrations, the humans and aliens began to form a tentative connection. Lucas couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. These beings, who had likely never encountered water before, were captivated by something he took for granted every day. For the first time, he truly understood the beauty and complexity of Earth's oceans, not just as a scientist, but as a representative of humanity. Hours passed, though it was impossible to tell time within the alien ship. The humans were led to a chamber filled with water, a shallow pool designed for observation. The aliens watched closely as Lucas and Mia demonstrated different swimming techniques, explaining the mechanics of buoyancy and propulsion through simple motions. Each new discovery elicited reactions of wonder from their audience. By the time they were returned to the Mariner's Hope, Lucas and Mia were exhausted but exhilarated. The alien ship vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving behind only ripples on the surface of the ocean. As the crew worked to regain their bearings, Lucas turned to Mia with a smile. "They came because they were afraid," he said, "but maybe now they'll see water differently." Mia nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "Maybe we've got more in common than we thought." The experience left them with more questions than answers. But one thing was certain. The aliens' arrival had changed everything, and deep down Lucas knew this was only the beginning. The days following the encounter with the aliens felt surreal for Lucas Harper and Mia Dawson. Back on the Mariner's Hope, the crew worked to process what had happened. The ship's instruments showed no trace of the alien vessel, as if it had never existed. Yet, the memory of its shimmering surface and the glowing eyes of its inhabitants lingered in everyone's minds. For Lucas and Mia, however, the experience was far from over. They couldn't shake the feeling that they were now part of something much bigger, something that could change humanity's place in the universe. News of the alien visit spread quickly, thanks to a stray signal picked up by a nearby satellite. Within hours, governments around the world were scrambling to respond. Military ships patrolled the waters where the encounter had taken place, scanning for any sign of the mysterious visitors. Reporters swarmed the docks, eager to interview anyone who might have information. The world buzzed with questions. Who were these aliens? What did they want? And why had they chosen Earth? Lucas and Mia found themselves at the center of the storm. Scientists, politicians, and even conspiracy theorists wanted answers. But the two researchers weren't ready to share everything they knew. Not yet. They needed time to think, to understand the significance of what had happened. More importantly, they wanted to honor the trust the aliens had shown them during their brief meeting. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Lucas and Mia sat together on the deck of the Mariner's Hope. The ocean stretched out before them, calm and endless. It was hard to believe that just days ago this same water had been disturbed by the arrival of an alien ship. "What do you think they'll do next?" Mia asked, breaking the silence. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. Lucas shrugged. "I don't know, but I think they're still watching us." Mia frowned. "You really believe that?" "I do," Lucas replied. "They didn't come all this way just to leave. There's something about our oceans, or maybe about us, that fascinates them." Mia nodded slowly. She had seen the look in the aliens' glowing eyes when they watched her swim. It wasn't just curiosity. It was awe. These beings, who came from a world without water, saw something extraordinary in humanity's relationship with the ocean. And that realization weighed heavily on her. The next morning, their suspicions were confirmed. A strange drone appeared above the ship, hovering silently, like a mechanical bird. Its sleek design was unmistakably alien, with smooth curves and faintly pulsing lights along its edges. The crew froze, unsure of what to do, but Lucas stepped forward, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "It's okay," he said, though he wasn't sure if the drone could understand him. "We're not afraid." The drone didn't attack or retreat. Instead, it projected a holographic image into the air, a map of Earth's oceans dotted with glowing points. Lucas recognized some of the locations immediately: areas rich in marine biodiversity, underwater trenches, and coral reefs. The message was clear. The aliens wanted to learn more about Earth's aquatic ecosystems. Mia joined Lucas, pointing to one of the glowing spots on the map. "This is the Great Barrier Reef," she explained aloud, even though she doubted the drone could comprehend her words. "It's one of the most diverse ecosystems on the planet." To their surprise, the drone responded. The image shifted, zooming in on the reef and showing detailed footage of its vibrant life. Schools of fish darted through the water, while sea turtles glided gracefully among the corals. The aliens had been observing Earth's oceans for some time, gathering data and studying its inhabitants. But there was one thing they hadn't fully understood until now: humans. The drone turned its attention to Lucas and Mia, projecting new images of people swimming, diving, and surfing. It mimicked the swimming motions Mia had demonstrated earlier, then paused as if waiting for a response. "They want to know more about us," Lucas said, his voice filled with wonder. "About how we interact with the water." Mia nodded. "We should show them." Over the next few days, Lucas and Mia worked tirelessly to communicate with the aliens. Using a combination of gestures, drawings, and demonstrations, they explained the mechanics of swimming, diving, and even snorkeling. They described how humans used fins to move faster, how scuba gear allowed them to explore deeper waters, and how surfers rode waves with skill and balance. Each explanation was met with fascination from the aliens, who seemed eager to learn. But it wasn't just about teaching, they were also learning. Through the drones, the aliens shared glimpses of their own world. They showed images of arid landscapes, cracked earth stretching as far as the eye could see. Rivers and lakes were nowhere to be found, replaced by endless deserts beneath twin suns. Life on their planet was harsh and unforgiving, shaped by centuries of scarcity and survival. One image stood out to Lucas, a mural carved into stone, depicting a great flood that had once devastated their civilization. The aliens believed water was dangerous, unpredictable, and destructive. To them, it was a force of chaos, something to be feared rather than embraced. "That's why they've avoided water worlds," Mia said, her voice tinged with sadness. "They don't understand." But they're trying to," Lucas replied. "And maybe we can help them." As the days passed, the bond between the humans and the aliens grew stronger. The drones became a constant presence, observing and recording every interaction. Sometimes they would project questions in the form of images, asking about specific behaviors or tools. Other times they would mimic human actions, attempting to replicate movements like kicking or paddling. Lucas and Mia began to feel a sense of responsibility, not just to their own species, but to the aliens as well. These beings had traveled across the stars to learn about Earth's oceans, driven by curiosity and a desire to overcome their fears. In return, they offered humanity a glimpse of their own struggles and triumphs. It was a reminder that, despite their differences, both species shared a common goal: to survive and thrive. One afternoon, as the mariner's hope drifted near a cluster of islands, the aliens made another unexpected move. A larger drone descended from the sky, this one equipped with a transparent chamber filled with water. The device hovered above the ship, then lowered itself gently onto the deck. Inside the chamber, a series of sensors and cameras blinked too, life analyzing the water's properties. Lucas approached cautiously, peering into the chamber. "What is this?" he wondered aloud. Mia studied the device closely. "It's like a test tank. Maybe they want to run experiments." Before they could speculate further, the drone projected an image of a human figure standing waist-deep in water. Then, it pointed to Lucas and Mia, gesturing for them to step inside the chamber. Lucas hesitated. "Do you think it's safe?" Mia took a deep breath. Only one way to find out. Together they climbed into the chamber, feeling the cool water rise around their legs. The moment they were submerged, the sensors sprang to life, measuring everything from temperature to salinity. The aliens were studying not just the water, but how humans interacted with it. Every movement, every splash was recorded and analyzed. For Lucas and Mia, it was both exhilarating and humbling. They realized that, in some ways, they were ambassadors for all of humanity. Their actions would shape how the aliens viewed Earth and, perhaps even influence whether they returned peacefully or not. When the experiment ended, the drone retracted the chamber and floated back into the sky. Lucas and Mia stood dripping on the deck, their hearts racing. They didn't know what the aliens would do with the data they had collected, but they hoped it would lead to greater understanding. That night, as they gazed up at the stars, Lucas turned to Mia with a thoughtful expression. "Do you think they'll come back?" Mia smiled softly. "I don't think they'll stay away for long, not after seeing what we can do." Lucas nodded, his eyes reflecting the light of distant galaxies. "Maybe they'll learn to see water the way we do, as something beautiful, powerful, and full of life." Mia leaned back against the railing, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "And maybe we'll learn something from them too." In that moment, surrounded by the vastness of the ocean and the infinite possibilities of the cosmos, they felt a profound sense of connection, not just to each other, but to the universe itself. Whatever happened next, they knew they were part of something extraordinary. Part 3. The days turned into weeks, and the presence of the aliens became a constant in Lucas Harper and Mia Dawson's lives. The drones continued to visit the Mariner's Hope, their glowing lights casting an otherworldly glow over the deck each time they arrived. Through these encounters, Lucas and Mia learned more about the Valons, the name they had decided to give the aliens based on the symbols that occasionally appeared in their holographic projections. The Valons were patient observers, always watching, always learning. But as the humans grew more comfortable with their visitors, they began to notice subtle changes in the way the aliens interacted. One morning, as the sun rose over the ocean, a new kind of drone appeared. It was larger than the others, its surface adorned with intricate patterns that pulsed softly like a heartbeat. When it projected an image, it wasn't a map or a question, it was an invitation. The hologram showed Lucas and Mia standing beside a Valon on what appeared to be their home planet. The message was clear: the aliens wanted the humans to come with them. Lucas stared at the projection, his mind racing. "Do you think it's safe?" he asked, glancing at Mia. Mia chewed her lip, her eyes fixed on the image. "I don't know. But if we want to understand them and help them, we might have to take the risk." After a brief discussion, they agreed to accept the invitation. The crew of the Mariner's Hope protested, worried for their safety, but Lucas and Mia reassured them. They promised to document everything and return as soon as possible. With a mix of excitement and apprehension, They stepped into the chamber provided by the drone, which sealed itself shut before lifting off into the sky. The journey through space was unlike anything they had ever experienced. The chamber's walls shimmered with shifting colors, creating the illusion of infinite horizons. Time seemed to stretch and compress, making it impossible to tell how long they had been traveling. When the chamber finally opened, they found themselves standing on a barren landscape under twin suns. The air was dry and warm, carrying the faint scent of metal and dust. Around them, the Veilons gathered, their glowing eyes fixed on the two humans. For a moment, Lucas and Mia felt small and vulnerable. The alien world was stark and unwelcoming, a far cry from the lush blue-green beauty of Earth. Yet the Veilons didn't seem hostile. Instead, they approached cautiously, their movements slow and deliberate. One of them, a taller individual, with markings that might have signified leadership, extended a hand toward Lucas. It wasn't a gesture of aggression, but one of trust. Lucas hesitated, then reached out and touched the alien's hand. The scales were cool and smooth, unlike anything he had ever felt before. The connection sent a surge of understanding, not words, but emotions and images. He saw flashes of the Veilons' history, their struggle to survive in a harsh environment, their fear of water born from ancient disasters, and their awe at discovering Earth's oceans. In return, Lucas shared glimpses of his own world, the vastness of the sea, the joy of swimming, and the bond between humans and nature. Mia watched the exchange with wide eyes, her heart pounding. She could feel the weight of the moment, the fragile bridge being built between two vastly different species. When it was her turn, she stepped forward and placed her hand on the leader's arm. Instantly, she was flooded with sensations: heat, thirst, and a deep longing for something they couldn't quite grasp. It was the Veilons' yearning for water, not as a threat, but as a missing piece of their existence. Over the next few days, Lucas and Mia worked to deepen this connection. They used gestures, drawings, and demonstrations to teach the Veilons about Earth's relationship with water. They explained how humans drank it, bathed in it, and relied on it for survival. They showed videos of rain falling, rivers flowing, and children playing in puddles. Each lesson brought a new level of understanding, and with it, a shift in the Veilons' perception. But the real breakthrough came when the Veilons introduced Lucas and Mia to their version of a water source. AI, small artificial pool tucked away in a sheltered area. The liquid inside was thick and viscous, more like oil than water. It was all the Veilons had managed to create after centuries of trying to replicate Earth's natural resources. To them, it was precious, a symbol of hope and resilience. Lucas knelt beside the pool, dipping his fingers into the strange liquid. "This is incredible," he said, turning to Mia. "They've done so much with so little." Mia nodded, her expression thoughtful. "But they still don't understand water the way we do. Not yet." Determined to help, Lucas and Mia proposed a bold idea: teaching the Veilons how to swim. At first, the aliens recoiled at the suggestion. Their fear of water ran deep, rooted in generations of caution and superstition. But Lucas and Mia persisted, explaining that swimming wasn't just about survival. It was about freedom, exploration, and connection. To ease their fears, they started small. Using a portable tank brought from the Mariner's Hope, they filled it with clean, fresh water and invited the Veilons to dip their hands in. At first, the aliens hesitated, their bodies trembling with uncertainty. But as Lucas and Mia encouraged them, one brave Veilon finally reached out, its fingers brushing the surface. The moment its skin touched the water, a ripple of curiosity spread through the group. Encouraged by this progress, Lucas and Mia moved to the next step. They led the Veilons to a shallow basin designed specifically for training. The aliens watched, nervously as Lucas waded into the water, demonstrating basic movements like floating and kicking. Then he motioned for one of the Veilons to join him. After a long pause, the leader stepped forward, its limbs stiff with tension. "Just relax," Lucas said gently, though he knew the Veilon couldn't understand his words. "Let the water hold you." With Mia's guidance, the Veilon lowered, itself into the basin, its body quivering. For a moment it stood frozen, overwhelmed by the sensation of being surrounded by liquid. But as Lucas supported it, the alien began to move tentatively, mimicking his actions. Its strokes were clumsy and awkward, but there was a spark of determination in its glowing eyes. The other Valons watched in silence, their expressions unreadable. Then, one by one, they began to follow suit, stepping into the water with hesitant steps. Each success brought cheers from Lucas and Mia, who celebrated every tiny victory. By the end of the session, the entire group was splashing and experimenting, their initial fear replaced by wonder. As the days passed, the Valons grew bolder. They practiced swimming in deeper tanks, learning to dive and glide through the water with increasing confidence. Lucas and Mia marveled at their progress, realizing that the aliens weren't just overcoming their fear, they were embracing water as a part of their identity. During one particularly memorable session, the leader of the Valons approached Lucas and Mia with a gift, a small vial containing a sample of their artificial liquid. It was a token of gratitude, a symbol of the trust they had built together. Lucas accepted it with a smile, knowing it represented far more than just a physical object. It was proof that two species, separated by light years and lifetimes of evolution, could find common ground. By the time Lucas and Mia prepared to leave, the Valons had transformed. They no longer viewed water as a force to be feared, but as a resource to be cherished. And for the humans, the experience had been equally transformative. They had seen their own world through the eyes of another species, gaining a deeper appreciation for the gifts they often took for granted. On the day of their departure, the Valons gathered to bid farewell. There were no words, only gestures and shared smiles. As the chamber lifted off carrying Lucas and Mia back toward Earth, they looked down at the alien world one last time. It was still barren, still harsh, but now it held the promise of change. Back, aboard the Mariner's Hope, the crew welcomed them with open arms. Lucas and Mia recounted their journey, sharing stories of the Valons' courage and curiosity. Though they knew humanity's relationship with the aliens was still in its infancy, they felt hopeful. They had planted a seed of understanding, and with time, it would grow into something extraordinary. That night, as they stood on the deck gazing at the stars, Lucas turned to Mia with a quiet smile. "Do you think they'll visit us again?" Mia nodded, her eyes reflecting the light of distant galaxies. "I think they will, and when they do, we'll be ready." In that moment, surrounded by the endless expanse of the ocean and the infinite possibilities of the cosmos, they felt a profound sense of connection, not just to each other, but to the universe itself. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they knew they had taken the first step toward a brighter future. Months passed after Lucas Harper and Mia Dawson's return from the alien world. The memory of their time with the Valons lingered vividly in their minds, shaping the way they saw both Earth and the universe beyond. Back on the Mariner's Hope, life slowly returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after such an extraordinary experience. Yet neither Lucas nor Mia could shake the feeling that something was coming. The bond they had formed with the Valons felt unfinished, like a story waiting for its final chapter. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, the crew noticed something strange. A faint hum filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. It wasn't long before the shimmering silhouette of an alien ship appeared above the ocean, just as it had done months earlier. But this time, it wasn't alone. Dozens of smaller vessels surrounded the main craft, their lights blinking rhythmically, like stars reflected on water. Lucas and Mia exchanged glances, their hearts racing. Without hesitation, they signaled the crew to prepare for contact. Moments later, a beam of light enveloped the Mariner's Hope, lifting the entire ship into the air. Unlike their previous encounter, there was no fear or confusion, only excitement. They were being invited back. When the humans stepped onto the alien vessel, they were greeted warmly by the Valons. The aliens' glowing eyes seemed brighter now, their movements more confident. Through gestures and shared memories, Lucas and Mia understood that the Valons had learned much since their last meeting. Their understanding of water had deepened, not just as a physical element but as a source of life and connection. The leader of the Valons approached them, holding out the vial they had given Lucas and Mia during their farewell. Inside, the liquid had changed. It was clearer, purer, resembling Earth's water more closely than ever before. The gesture was clear. The Valons wanted to share their progress and seek further guidance. Lucas smiled, taking the vial gently. "You've come so far," he said softly, knowing the aliens couldn't understand his words but hoping his tone conveyed his pride. Mia nodded, her voice filled with admiration. "Now let's see how far we can go together," the Valons led them to a massive chamber at the heart of the ship. Inside, holographic projections displayed images of Earth's oceans alongside scenes of their own planet. The contrast was striking, the vibrant blues and greens of Earth versus the dry, dusty landscapes of the Valon homeworld. But amidst the barren terrain, signs of change were visible. Small pools of water dotted the surface, evidence of the Valons' efforts to adapt and thrive. Through demonstrations and experiments, the Valons showed Lucas and Mia what they had achieved. They had built irrigation systems powered by solar energy, transforming patches of desert into fertile ground where plants could grow. They had even begun experimenting with aquaculture, raising fish in controlled environments to supplement their diet. Each innovation was inspired by lessons learned from humanity's relationship with water. But the most remarkable discovery came when the Valons revealed their ultimate goal: terraforming their planet. Using knowledge gained from Earth, they hoped to reshape their environment, introducing water on a larger scale to create rivers, lakes, and eventually seas. It was an ambitious plan, one that would take generations to complete. But the determination in the Valons' glowing eyes was unmistakable. Lucas and Mia knew they couldn't leave without helping. Drawing on their expertise as marine biologists, they worked tirelessly alongside the Valons, sharing strategies for sustainable water management and ecosystem restoration. They taught the aliens how to monitor water quality, prevent contamination, and nurture aquatic life. In return, the Valons shared their own technological advancements, offering solutions that humans had never considered. As days turned into weeks, the collaboration grew stronger. Trust blossomed between the two species, bridging the gap between their vastly different worlds. For the first time, Lucas and Mia truly understood what it meant to be ambassadors, not just for humanity, but for all of Earth. Every lesson they imparted carried the weight of responsibility, knowing that their actions would shape the future of both planets. Eventually, it was time to return home. The Valons expressed their gratitude in a ceremony unlike anything Lucas and Mia had ever witnessed. Holographic displays filled the chamber, showing images of Earth's oceans alongside the budding water sources on the Valons' planet. Music, created, using vibrations and tones unique to the aliens, filled the air, resonating with emotions that transcended language. Before departing, the leader of the Valons presented Lucas and Mia with a gift, a small crystal containing encoded data about their homeworld and their plans for terraforming. It was an invitation for humanity to stay involved, to continue working together toward a shared vision of coexistence and growth. Back on Earth, news of Lucas and Mia's journey spread quickly. Governments, scientists, and ordinary people marveled at the possibilities created by their alliance with the Valons. While some feared the unknown, others embraced it, seeing the aliens not as threats, but as partners in a grand experiment of survival and adaptation. Lucas and Mia became spokespeople for this new era of interstellar cooperation. They traveled the world, sharing stories of the Valons' courage and ingenuity. They emphasized the importance of protecting Earth's resources, reminding everyone that the same tools used to help another species could also heal their own planet. Over time, communication between Earth and the Valons became routine. Regular exchanges of information and technology allowed both species to flourish. Humans sent experts to assist with the terraforming project, while the Valons shared innovations that helped solve problems like drought and pollution on Earth. The partnership, proved mutually beneficial, proving that cooperation across the stars was not only possible, but essential. Years later, as Lucas and Mia stood on a beach watching the waves roll in, they reflected on how far they, and the world, had come. The ocean stretched endlessly before them, its surface shimmering under the sunlight. Somewhere among the stars, the Valons looked toward Earth with gratitude, inspired by the resilience and creativity of humanity. "We did it," Mia said quietly, breaking the silence. Lucas nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Not just us, all of us, humans and Valons alike." Mia smiled, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "And we're just getting started." In that moment, surrounded by the vastness of the ocean and the infinite possibilities of the cosmos, they felt a profound sense of hope. The challenges ahead were daunting, but they knew they weren't facing them alone. Together, humanity and the Valons had taken the first steps toward a brighter future, a future shaped by trust, understanding, and the belief that even the greatest fears could be overcome with courage and collaboration. Years had passed since Lucas Harper and Mia Dawson first encountered the Valons, and their lives, and the world, had changed in ways they could never have imagined. The bond between humanity and the alien species had grown stronger with each passing day, evolving into a partnership that spanned light years and reshaped the future of both civilizations. On Earth, the lessons learned from the Valons' determination to adapt and thrive inspired a new wave of environmental awareness. People began to see water not just as a resource, but as a precious gift, one that needed to be protected and cherished. For Lucas and Mia, the journey was far from over. They had become leaders in this new era of interstellar cooperation, traveling between Earth and the Valon homeworld to oversee joint projects and ensure the success of the terraforming efforts. Their work wasn't easy. There were challenges at every turn, but the rewards were immeasurable. Each breakthrough brought them closer to their shared vision of two worlds united by understanding and mutual respect. One crisp autumn morning, Lucas and Mia stood on the deck of the Mariner's Hope, watching the sun rise over the ocean. The ship had been upgraded with Valon technology, making it faster, more efficient, and capable of traveling beyond Earth's atmosphere. It was a symbol of the collaboration between the two species, blending human ingenuity with alien innovation. Today they were preparing for another trip to the Valon planet, where a major milestone awaited them: the completion of the first large-scale body of water created entirely through their combined efforts. As the ship lifted off, leaving Earth's surface behind, Lucas turned to Mia with a thoughtful expression. "Do you remember the first time we saw their world? How barren it was?" Mia nodded, her eyes reflecting the glow of the stars outside the window. "It's hard to believe how much has changed. All those dry deserts are starting to look like, well, like home." Lucas smiled. "Not exactly like home, but close enough." The journey to the Valon planet took less time than ever before, thanks to advancements in travel technology developed jointly by humans and aliens. When they arrived, the transformation was breathtaking. Where once there had been endless stretches of cracked earth and swirling dust storms, now lay patches of greenery and shimmering pools of water. Rivers snaked across the landscape, feeding into larger reservoirs that reflected the twin suns above. Life was taking root in places where it had never existed before. The Valons greeted Lucas and Mia warmly, their glowing eyes brighter than ever. Over the years, the aliens had grown more expressive, using gestures and even simple sounds to communicate emotions like joy, gratitude, and excitement. This time, the leader of the Valons approached them, holding a small container filled with clear, sparkling water. It was a sample from the newly created lake, a testament to what they had achieved together. "This is amazing," Mia said, examining the water closely. "It's almost identical to Earth's fresh water." Lucas nodded, his voice filled with pride. "You've done incredible work. We couldn't have asked for a better result." The Valons responded with a series of soft hums, their version of laughter or celebration. Through shared memories and images, they showed Lucas and Mia the impact of the project on their society. Communities had begun to form around the new bodies of water, fostering cooperation and creativity among the Veilons. Children played near the edges of the lakes, splashing and laughing, a sight that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago. The fear of water that had once defined their culture was fading, replaced by a sense of wonder and possibility. But the most surprising development came when the Veilons revealed their next goal: introducing aquatic life into their newly formed ecosystems. Using genetic data provided by Earth, they had begun experimenting with creating fish and other marine organisms suited to their environment. The idea was ambitious, even risky, but it represented a leap forward in their evolution as a species. Lucas and Mia spent weeks working alongside the Veilons, helping them design habitats and monitor the health of the fledgling ecosystems. They introduced techniques for maintaining biodiversity and preventing ecological imbalances, drawing on decades of research conducted on Earth. In return, the Veilons shared insights into their own biology, revealing adaptations that allowed them to survive in extreme conditions. These discoveries opened up new possibilities for addressing environmental challenges back on Earth, particularly in regions affected by climate change. As the project neared completion, the Veilons organized a ceremony to celebrate their progress. The event took place beside the largest lake they had created, its surface glittering under the twin suns. Thousands of Veilons gathered, their reflective scales catching the light as they moved gracefully around the water's edge. Humans joined them, standing side by side with their alien allies in a moment of unity and triumph. The leader of the Veilons stepped forward, holding aloft a container filled with water teeming with tiny fish, the first aquatic creatures to inhabit their planet. The crowd fell silent as the alien poured the contents into the lake, watching as the fish darted beneath the surface. Cheers erupted, echoing across the landscape as the Veilons celebrated this monumental achievement. Lucas and Mia watched the scene unfold, their hearts swelling with emotion. They had witnessed the birth of a new world, one shaped by the courage and determination of two vastly different species. As the celebration continued, the leader of the Veilons approached them, placing a hand on each of their shoulders. Though no words were spoken, the message was clear. Thank you. When it was time to leave, Lucas and Mia felt a mix of sadness and hope. Saying goodbye to the Veilons was always bittersweet, but they knew this wasn't the end. The partnership between Earth and the Veilon planet was only beginning, and there were countless opportunities ahead to deepen their connection and expand their horizons. Back on Earth, news of the successful introduction of aquatic life to the Veilon planet sparked global enthusiasm. People marveled at the possibilities of interstellar collaboration, imagining a future where humanity worked alongside other species to explore the cosmos. Scientists, engineers, and artists drew inspiration from the Veilon's story, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. Lucas and Mia became symbols of this new age, their names synonymous with hope and progress. They continued to advocate for environmental conservation, emphasizing the importance of protecting Earth's resources while sharing knowledge with others. Their message resonated deeply, reminding everyone that the same principles guiding the Veilon's transformation could also heal their own planet. One evening, as they stood on a beach watching the waves roll in, Lucas turned to Mia with a smile. "Do you think we'll ever stop being amazed by all of this?" Mia shook her head, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "I hope not. If we ever stop being amazed, then we've lost something important." Lucas nodded, his eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "You're right. There's still so much to learn from them, from us, from everything." In that moment, surrounded by the vastness of the ocean and the infinite possibilities of the universe, they felt a deep sense of purpose. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had also been rewarding beyond measure. Together, humanity and the Veilons had proven that even the greatest divides could be bridged with trust, determination, and a shared vision of a better future. And as they looked toward the stars, they knew the best was yet to come.